We have another speaker now, Nordin Mango, the human rights activist, and my nephew as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The situation in Balochistan today, it is obviously worsened despite ostensible transition to civilian rule, although for the Baloch people, this situation has always been the same, whether it be civilians or military dictators in power. Democracy in Pakistan, as you all may know, exists only as much as the military, the army allows it to be. The military calls the shots in Pakistan, and especially after this transition to civilian rule, the Pakistani military has had the courage to carry out its atrocities with much more freedom, believing that the fingers would point towards, people would point the fingers towards the civilian government, though that this civilian government is only brought in to bring about a cosmetic change, but in reality the power still lies with the Pakistani army. It always has, and it always will, for as long as Pakistan exists. That is the conclusion that we have come to after 65 years of facing their brutal atrocities at the hands of that very force. And as far as Pakistan's political parties are concerned, be it the opposition or those in the government, they have contributed to and connived in the repression of the Baloch to the will of the Pakistani military. It cares only about gaining its share of the pie rather than standing up for the rights of the downtrodden Baloch people. Not one of them is willing to upset the army by speaking for the Baloch. The oppressed people of Pakistani occupied Balochistan have been victims of repeated military operations by the Pakistani army since Balochistan was forcibly incorporated into Pakistan in 1948, 27th March 1948. Thousands of Baloch have been subjected to enforced disappearances. The military has adopted new methods over the years to suppress the Baloch people. After Musharraf's ouster and the formation of this government in Pakistan, the human rights situation only worsened. Since July 2010, nearly 300 mutilated bodies of the disappeared have surfaced, including students, teachers, journalists, lawyers, political activists, academics and human rights defenders, and also actors and singers. There have been many cases in which singers were abducted and they were forced to swallow acid because they used to sing revolutionary songs. Their bodies bear marks of torture. They're all brutally tortured in custody before being shot, riddled with bullets and dumped on the side of a road in a desert area. Their bodies bear burns, their flesh is faced with drills, their nails and eyes are pulled out, and some are even found without a single bullet in their body. You can imagine the amount of torture they go through. Today the Baloch are no longer bothered about giving a historical, political or economic justification for its secession from Pakistan. They consider this genocide as justification enough for its separation from the state. Though Pakistan considers itself to be the epitome of the Muslim world, it practices this by dumping bullet-ridden bodies in Balochistan with notes in the victims' pockets, calling it an Eid gift for the people of Balochistan during the Muslim festival of Eid especially. The rogue state of Pakistan has repeatedly attempted to subdue the Baloch movement for their freedom and has been usurping the wealth and natural resources of the Baloch soil. It is a clear fact that Pakistan would be unable to sustain its artificial existence without the resources of Balochistan. The Punjabi Pakistani have systematically been carrying out what can be called the social, political, economic, cultural and physical genocide of the Baloch people. The fifth and ongoing military operation in Balochistan has resulted in brutal massacres of thousands of Baloch people, including defenseless women and children, resulting in the mass displacement of people of districts of Kolu and Derabukhti, where military operation was launched in 2005. And mainly women and children have been victims in this military operation due to unabated aerial bombing and ground offensives by the Pakistani army. Political activists, students, teachers, journalists, doctors, writers, intellectuals have been subjected to enforced and involuntary disappearances, whereas many of the victims are targeted killing by the military and intelligence agencies. The Pakistan Army's increasing presence all over occupied Balochistan and its atrocities, including repeated military operation, is also a sign of its own weakness and failure of the Baloch becoming the masters of their own homeland and their own destiny. Pakistan is just desperately struggling to suppress the voice of the Baloch people at all costs, and has now resorted to acts such as enforced disappearances and assassinations of Baloch, and also the killing of women and children, all in order to impede political consciousness in Balochistan. Pakistan is not only a threat to the Baloch national identity, but also a strong impediment to peace, security, stability, and genuine development in the region. The international community, including the United Nations, must intervene in Balochistan so that the Baloch can exercise their rights of determination, just like East Timor and South Sudan. Only within the last week, around 10 bodies, mutilated bodies of the Baloch missing persons were found, whereas 3 young Baloch were shot dead. This apparently seems to be in response to the congressional hearing, and which was followed by a bill tabled in the U.S. Congress 2 weeks ago. 2 young Baloch students were gunned down in broad daylight in the district of Kulsar in Balochistan the 29th of February 2011. The victims were Abdul Wahid Baloch and Salman Baloch. Abdul Wahid Baloch was 19 years old and Salman was 21. Initial treatment in a local hospital in Banjul, Nasir Baloch was shifted to Quetta for further treatment because his condition was worsening and he needed extensive care. At the Quetta hospital, the Pakistan intelligence agencies continuously used to visit him. The doctors had put a rod in his broken leg and asked him to visit back in 5 months' time. Fearful of his reabduction, Nasir Baloch's family shifted him to his hometown, and the rest of the treatment was carried out there. After 4 months of slow recovery, on the 25th of May 2011, Nasir Baloch was on his way to see his doctor and to ask him to remove the rod that they had fetched there from his leg. He was traveling from Haran to Quetta when the passenger bus in which he was traveling arrived at the Lakpas police and FC joint checkpost, and where it was stopped. The intelligence agency's personnel already were waiting for them there, boarded the bus and dragged Nasir and his brother, Gul Mohammad Baluch, put them in a car and drove off. Nasir Baluch and his brother, their whereabouts remained unknown until his bullet-ridden, mutilated body was found from the western bypass area of Quetta on the 17th of July 2011, along with 2 other Baloch who were later identified as Maqsood Kalandrani and Murtaza Sarfara Baloch. During his recovery from earlier torture, Nasir Baloch was visited by several of his friends and well-wishers after they insisted that he must tell them what he had gone through, who had abducted him, and how he survived. On the continuous insistence of his friends, he narrated the following story. This is Nasir Baloch's narration. I, along with my 3 friends, Rasool Baksh, was sitting at my place when we heard a knock at the door. Mehran asked Rasool Baksh to check who is at the door. As soon as Rasool Baksh went out, nearly a dozen FC and military personnel jumped the wall of the house and came in. They ordered us to put our hands up. We did, as we were told. Some of the army men went to the next room and ordered all the women and children to come out. When they came out, they were made to stand in a line, and an old army officer shamelessly started taking off the earrings from the ears of the women. And he also ordered them to hand over their rings, watches, and whatever else they had in their possession. Later they tied their mouths and later they tied their mouths and locked them in the other room. They then blindfolded and started beating us with guns and sticks. They also verbally abused us. They dragged us out of our home and put us in their cars. After a while of driving, we felt that we were in a room, being beaten by sticks, kicks, guns, and they were swearing at us again. When they removed the cloth from our eyes, there was this dark room that we were in. People were hanging by the ceiling upside down above us. Then they came in this old white-bearded man, a military official, the first day. And he said to us, listen, I am in a state of ablution for the past 25 years. I have not committed any sins since my childhood. If anyone lies to me, I can immediately feel it. With the help of my apparatus, that this person is lying. So now you guys tell me, how many people have you killed? Madam and I replied simultaneously that we bear God our witness that we have never killed anyone. Upon hearing this, the old man takes out his knife and starts slitting the thighs of Mehran. He literally cut a piece of flesh from Mehran's thigh. Then he turns to me and starts slitting my chest with a sharp knife. Meanwhile, I saw another soldier push Abid Salim, one of my friends, to the wall and started hammering his palms on the wall with a huge, sharp nail. I heard Abid Salim screaming just once, and then he lost his consciousness. He just fainted before our eyes. But the brutal military official kept hammering his palms to the wall. Our other two friends were also watching what we were going through, as they were sitting in the same room. Soon I lost my consciousness too. When I regained consciousness, I saw this old, brutal and savage soldier rubbing some white powder on my wounds. As soon as he rubbed this powder, my entire body, mind and heart started burning. At one glance I saw Abid Salim and Mehran were tied with electric wires and they were being given electric shocks. I could feel the agony. They were moving just like fish out of water. Then they started beating me with a flat plastic belt with iron bolts, which had iron bolts fixed to it. The torturer kept saying, "You're the enemy of Allah, His Prophet and Islam. You kill Punjabis and we are only here to protect them. Any Baloch who says wrong about any Punjabi, we will cut off his tongue." They uttered all these words in one breath while still giving electric shocks to my friends and beating me with a plastic belt. After all this torture and inhuman treatment, they did not ask us any questions, but the torture continued. We would lose our conscience and then they would wait until we regained our conscience and started to beat us again. This continued all night. The following morning, the same old white-bearded man showed up again and asked us not to force him to commit any sin. He said, "Tell me the truth. Who are your other friends in Punjab?" Now we were almost half dead. We could only hear, but could not speak a single word. Then he ordered his men to untie our hands, and as soon as our hands were untied, suddenly they attacked Mehran and broke his arm before our eyes. They did the same to Abid Salim and then broke my arm. We all fainted again, and then when we regained consciousness, I saw my friend's body hanging by the ceiling. They executed him in the same room where they had kept us. He was dead. Then they put me in a car. I was kind of happy and relieved that they were going to let me go. However, the car stopped after a while and they dragged me out of the car. I saw around 20 military men standing in line. Then one of them stepped forward and started addressing others. "Since we are the army of God, we are fighting for Allah Almighty, and these Balochi people are infidels. They are fighting against Allah and His Prophet on the saying of Israel and India. That is why killing them is permissible and serving Islam." After the speech, all the soldiers said, "God is great." Then one of the soldiers came forward and started firing bullets at me. Soon I fainted. Again, this time when I regained my consciousness, I found myself in a hospital. This, my friend, was the story of the late Nasir Baluch, who suffered at the hands of the soldiers of the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. He was lucky enough to survive the first time, but his killers made sure that he won't survive again in order to expose him, so that he could not expose them. This story has also illustrated the pain and sufferings of other Baloch political activists that have been killed under the custody of those who are still in the illegal secret prisons of the Pakistani army. The hope of the Baloch people have reached a point of no return. The Baloch fully understand that they have no future in Pakistan and that it is simply impossible to coexist with them. The hope of the Baloch of having a future in Pakistan is simply out of the question. The Baloch people's future lies in an independent Balochistan. There is no other solution. We have come to this conclusion after 65 years of false promises, deception and bloodshed. The fact is that the Baloch have never even been a part of Pakistan, as the very foundation of our relation with Pakistan was based on injustice. How can anyone even imagine the Baloch having their rights or any sort of justice in Pakistan when this is the case? When Pakistan forcefully occupied Balochistan in 1948, it did not do so with the intention of giving the Baloch their rights or the right to determine our own future. Pakistan considers each day of its occupation of Balochistan as a bonus, and it continues to kill the Baloch and usurp their natural resources. The Baloch have resisted the occupation of their homeland since day one, and will continue to do so till salvation. And the recent cowardly killings of Zamul Mufti and her 13-year-old daughter, Jana, in Karachi, is another example of the Pakistani state terrorism and justifies the Baloch struggle against the oppressor for salvation. As we speak, an aged Baloch mother yearns for the return of their son, and abducted by the occupiers, a child orphaned, a wife becomes a widow, and the son of Soil is tortured at the hands of the occupiers for demanding his God-given rights. I ask the international community, is it still too early for you to raise your voice? I would lastly like to say that nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new ending. Thank you very much.